Hi guys, this is Rahul here from myview.rahulnavy.net, which is my blog. And in this particular context, what I'm going to talk about is one of my microservices project for on which I was working since quite a bit, and I decided to make it entirely open source. As you can see that, and this is already hosted on GitHub on rahulsai19/e-shopping, which you can go ahead and check this out. And this entire structure is laid out in the fashion of clean architecture pattern itself, which means like you can go ahead and explore around this all these services and basically which is their basket, catalog, discount and ordering, and everything is written in this pattern as it is in listed down in clean architecture. Before delving into this particular solution, let's get inside this GitHub and this readme file, what exactly it is talking about. So during this journey, what I have done is I have created this entire course, and this course I have divided this I have uploaded this into Udemy itself, and that is a learning series basically, which is of course on six different patterns and six different series itself. And this entire stuff is divided in such a way that you guys can get the gist of right from the blank slate. Let's say suppose that you guys don't know anything about microservices and the clean architecture, so there is a free course as well, which is the first link, which you can of course go ahead and check this out on Udemy. I have also uploaded this particular course on YouTube as well, so this playlist link will be you can see that in the description of this particular course itself. And all these things which you can see here, like if anytime you are seeing this video, these links are getting updated on the monthly basis, so that if you are coming on the later half, so you can get the maximum benefit out of that with the coupons which is posted over here. Now let's talk about this architecture pattern and what are the things it is going to utilize this. So why I'm saying this is complete learning series, because this has got plethora of things. So first of all, you will be doing this clean architecture service creation. Then you will be securing this microservices using identity server 4. Then in the third course, you will be applying this cross-cutting concerns wherein you're implementing like or serial log structure, logging infrastructure, and then centralizing all this logging using Elasticsearch. That means when I'm talking Elasticsearch, which means like you will be applying this ELK stack at the center of this, and then once you are done with that, so you will be applying this versioning microservices. So at the same time, how can you support multiple versions of the same API so that multiple clients can and have different flavor of the same API. So let's suppose you want to retire some API in future, like in industry practice, what we do. So same thing, you are going to, put together everything in this particular versioning course, so that you guys can get the gist of that actual, enterprise pattern, like in actual practice, how we achieve this particular stuff. At the same time, once you are done with that, so there is a flavor of Angular application. What it's going to do is you will be creating front-end application entirely for this e-commerce journey, where you will be consuming the APIs which you have created so far in this particular landscape. This will be utilized into this SPA framework using Angular itself. Of course, it is done using Angular 15, and this .NET Core is utilized .NET 6 itself at the moment. Now, of course, these frameworks, don't worry about that. These will be upgraded in the coming section. So once we have these stable frameworks getting released, right? So these things will be upgraded to a newer version of .NET framework as well, which you can say .NET Core and Angular as well. Now the next thing comes is the deployment of microservices, which in this case is done to Kubernetes local cluster plus AKS as well. So you will get to see that how to apply into this Azure Kubernetes service, how to spin up services, how to deploy the legacy way, like you can think of doing individual YAML files, and then you will switch gears to Helm Charts, where you'll be packaging each and every components into Helm Charts, so that your infrastructure code become more reusable and more towards industry pattern what we guys are using these days, right? And these Helm Charts will be uploading to AKS cluster itself, and then we'll be connecting to this AKS cluster locally using Kubernetes Lens. and in that lens we are going to do plethora of changes and streaming inside. Basically when I say streaming inside is basically delving inside each and every component, like what pods are there and how it is behaving, how we are doing scalability options, how we are spinning multiple pods at the same instance. And the bonus part of this particular course is, of course, your service mesh, which is implemented using Istio pattern, and which means like you will get to see how this sidecar patterns works in actually in practice. And which means like you will be also enabling this Kiali dashboard to visualize your component, whether it's working fine, is there any problem with this existing components, how it's behaving. You will be writing your Prometheus query to visualize these parts, and you will be visualizing in this Grafana dashboard as well. So you are going to utilize tons of stuff inside this microservices pattern using clean architecture. I tried to make this particular course as close to industry standard as it is possible, because these are the things which we have been doing on daily basis as far as .NET technology is concerned. Now the last bit of this course is independent of this particular course, which is Docker for .NET and Angular, Docker and Kubernetes for .NET and Angular developers. So what happens is like let's say you guys don't have any idea of like how to get started with microservices, because there is a prerequisite for that, and that prerequisite is you should know how to containerize your application, right? And the best part, it starts with it, of course, is the Docker is the de facto choice for that, and you will be starting from that landscape itself. But if you don't know anything about Docker, so don't worry about that. This particular last course is, which is the last link in this case, this is not the last course. Basically, this can be treated as prerequisite. So if you guys don't know anything about Docker, Kubernetes, right, so you can simply jump to this particular course and see that, like how it's explained neatly right from the scratch, from the blank template. Let's say you will be first hosting a simple raw HTML file, then you will be switching gears to .NET and then .NET microservices, where you will be introduced to simple services. Then how do you stitch together different microservices together using Docker Compose and all other Docker commands, you will get to see into that. Like, so there is a plethora of things discussed in this particular course. Now this is all about how the course is structured. Now let's see the project itself, like what are the things which is introduced in this, and what are the technologies which is going to come, and what are the dots which you are going to put together to make this entire architecture a reality. So of course you will be learning these technologies like clean architecture, .NET Core, Docker, Kubernetes. Everything is mentioned here, like how do you apply pub sub pattern. GRPC is one of the key takeaway here. Like GRPC is let's say in case of microservices, wherein you have a really scalable platform, and how it improves the performance when it comes to talking between microservices. So this is you are going to see this thing in practice, like whenever discount comes into the picture, how a discount is applied using clean architecture rather than simple API way itself. And this is the architecture, how it is your solution is going to look like. So this is e-shopping, wherein API gateway is one of the infrastructure thing, like your services will be sitting behind API gateway. In this case, Ocelot is there, right? And I have also discussed in this particular case Nginx platform as well. So that's the bonus part of that. Like, let's say in future you would like to embrace Nginx rather than Ocelot, so you can at least know, you should have the basic knowledge, like what are the basic artifacts behind Nginx and how it works, how we consume this entire rules and which is put together inside this Nginx file, settings file itself. Then inside the infrastructure we have this event bus mechanism. So obviously this is entirely a disconnected architecture, where you will see that how CQRS pattern is implemented and how mediator is coming into play to implement that, whether it's a command or whether it's a query, how this is handler is coming into play and how this is getting consumed. So these are the things which you are going to see here. Now, these services, as you can see that this is listed as in basket, catalog, discount, and ordering, and all these are divided into 4 layers. Of course, these are the basic artifacts which any clean architecture talks about, like its API, application, core, and infrastructure. Likewise, all services are divided into that itself, like basket, catalog, discount, and ordering. And here in that infrastructure piece as well, like you will be securing this microservices using identity server as well. So that will a piece is obviously covered into that securing microservices, which you will obviously see. And all these branches are divided into individual courses, mapped to individual courses, like clean architecture, the very first one. Then you will be securing this with the identity server. Then you will be putting, let's say, cross-cutting concerns and elastic, which is this elastic one. Let's say the other one when you are putting this Angular, and then let's say you are applying this versioning. So for each course there will be a different dedicated branch itself, which means like this is going to give you that entire gist of that from where to get started. But there is a disclaimer here. Let's suppose you are taking only one of these courses, let's say on the third course or the fourth course, and if you expect that you will your application will work neatly and you will everything will fall into place. So that is not going to happen, because this is a series which and that is why it is put together into one by one step. First course is obviously the free, and the other remaining courses are into sequence it is mentioned, and the last one is the prerequisite for your microservices itself. Now let's think about like other than that what is mentioned here. So this is of course this Docker Compose, which is having that all your services put together into this with this override, which is going to give you that all port mappings and everything. And apart from that, this is the client structure, which is nothing but your Angular structure, and this is how this application is put together. Now once you get to see into inside this course, so you will get to know like how these patterns are working, like how this folder structure and how this error handling and everything modular structure ahead of compilation, and each and every bit how it is handled. Like here also design pattern aspects has been applied, like it should not feel like there's a specific spaghetti pattern. That's why it's pretty neatly modularized here. So once you are in this Angular course, you will get to see like first of all how to structure your code, and then get started with that basics, and then switch gears to integrate this entire API with that Angular. But here is a disclaimer again. Don't expect, I'm expecting certain things here, like you should be knowing basics of Angular, because that is not explained here. And the other part of this is like don't expect that how this HTML is structured, from where I am bringing this HTML. I'm just using one of the templates, and on that basis I am just applied this HTML and CSS. I am not an HTML and CSS expert, so I just wanted to mention ahead of time itself. And that is just to this SPA framework I have put together, just to give you the glimpse of the entire journey end to end. Then comes the deployment piece. Of course, the deployment piece, you can see this Helm chart. So for every dedicated microservice or DB, there is a dedicated Helm chart which is there. And then for installing and uninstalling, there is a PowerShell command, which is of course there. There is Istio service, which is obviously is going for service mesh. So this entire thing you guys are going to experience this in this particular course itself. And there is a Kubernetes way like in-house in your machine if you are experiencing that. So I have just given an example of plain old YAML concept as well, like how do you used to put together every architecture artifact into that Kubernetes cluster. So this is the old way of doing. This is the latest how we are doing an infrastructure way. Let's suppose as in infrastructure as a code way, where these code can be maintained into version control, and lately its version can be upgraded. So you can think from that perspective. There is now this is the workflow of that, like once you are done with this entire journey, how your application is going to look alike. So this is the sports e-commerce, which you can see here, like there is a different brands, let's say Adidas, Victor, Yonex, Puma, likewise, and there are different types of that, and how this pagination and shopping cart basket thing is getting structured, and this is all this angular representation of your clean architecture, and API is coming into play, like how you are adding to cart, how your identity server is working, and how you are authorizing yourself, so how you are securing your microservices at the scope level, how you are authorizing that at the different controller level. So these minute things are already discussed in this particular course. So altogether this course is around 35 hours of course, which you are going to get this in a bundle. And of course that is why I have divided into 6 segments, because I thought of like putting all 35 hours of course into one could be overwhelming, and students might feel little overwhelmed with the structure which is put together. That's why I decided to isolate them with that, how do we say, like separation of concerns. So this course is also divided into the separation of objective, rather I would use this particular word here. And once it is successfully done, so order now, then you will be landed to a store, and that is what it is giving you, that 200 to accepted. This can be extended with that ordering page as well, where we can integrate certain payment gateway as in Stripe payment, and we'll do certain stuff here. But I'll leave this particular exercise to you guys, like since you guys have already with this course already understood the entire gist of the problem, like already you guys have created 4 microservices, so you guys can create another 2 microservices, wherein one could be an ordering and another could be, let's say, a payment, and then you guys can have this like that complete gist of that. But even this one is that entirely complete, because this is done, your piece is done, you have already communicated your downstream microservices that your order is complete. So that's that thing, like this will at least give you that entire end-to-end journey picture. Now these are certain prerequisites installation perspective. I have done this entirely on my Mac, so you must be having a Visual Studio running this on Windows. I have done with JetBrains Rider. It's entirely on your choice which ID you like to use and what are the prerequisites. These are certain prerequisites for your Docker and Kubernetes itself, like because obviously you are doing and microservices journey. Without this, it's can't be imagined. You can just clone this project and simply type this command. This will spin up your entire architecture, and it will give you like this portainer journey here. Like you can see that currently, I guess let's say we can have altogether 25, and let's say around 25 microservices altogether is running, apart from the services which you have created. And other than that, there are certain obviously the DB and other set. So that is what is already created and running. That can be visualized also into Docker dashboard as well. And as you can see, this e-shopping has been created. This is the name of that group under which it is tagged, right? And these are the microservices which is running so far. So this is the thing which you guys are going to create that right from the blank slate and experience the same one by one, like how to spin up all these microservices. So this I'm just showing you as a glimpse of like what you are going to get in this particular course and how you are going to spin up this thing. Now once this is done, so what's the next thing? And if you want to see this in IDE, so this is the I'm using this IDE is in JetBrains Rider, and this is the master branch, as you can see here. And of course there are multiple branches going to be, which is, you can see this, the remote branches which is there for all different courses. Different branches are tagged, which I have already explained. Likewise, you see that the architecture of all the microservices is laid out into this clean architecture pattern, and that's why it is like this. And this is already I explained, but just wanted to show you in JetBrains Rider because I'm on Mac, and that is gives me a little different feel like, of course you can use this JetBrains rider into your Windows machine as well, but that is definitely your choice. But I find this rider is awesome because Visual Studio for Mac is, I don't really find it a help for any developer. I don't know why Microsoft has done a cut down version of actual Windows Visual Studio, which is an awesome tool, but that's the choice of one developer. Now let's get back to this README file which we have been discussing, and let's so this is the architecture here. So this is the hand designed architecture. Like catalog API is backed by MongoDB, basket API is backed by Redis, discount API is backed by Postgres, ordering API is backed by SQL Server, and basket API once added into the basket, putting a message into the RabbitMQ, which is getting consumed back by ordering API. So you see that you are also putting that event driven pattern also inside pub sub pattern. Everything is getting utilized here, and these are certain your of course the links of that, or I would say icons of all the technologies utilized. But believe me, this is just a glimpse of that. There is many more, right? You'll get to see many more other than this. Now this is how your dependency is getting driven inside, like as far as clean architecture is concerned. Other than that, of course, I have you will get to see this. So this readme page is quite extensive, and you will get to see that each and every bit of your course which is already is discussed in that. Let's say this is the Elasticsearch, so obviously you will be putting, because in microservices scale of application, this is very important to know from which part, right, your error has occurred, initiated, and how do you trace back. So in order to do that, this Elasticsearch and logging pattern is very important, and you will get to see that how do you write your custom correlation ID generator. So I have done that way, like I have written my own custom correlation ID generator to correlate between microservices. Now this is the ACR workloads, which is Azure Container Registry, wherein you will be putting your different microservices inside this. Now these microservices are getting utilized inside this AKS cluster, which is Azure Kubernetes Service, and that is going to spin up these microservices inside that only. Now this is the pods visualization using kubelens. As I said, like Kubernetes lens is one of the important tools for any developer to visualize all the Kubernetes assets. Although there is a web version of that, but there is a timed out feature in that, like which is okayish, but this one gives at least more granular level control on that. So that's why I find this is very beautiful tool, very helpful. Apart from that, you can see this workloads, deployments, and the other pieces like replica sets, config maps. So these all things you will be creating in your entire learning journey. So this is going to be your 6th course, wherein deployment piece is getting discussed, and of course you will be creating DB secrets and everything you will be putting together into Helm chart, and that is the end result which I have put together. Like once you have uploaded that Helm chart into AKS and you connected your AKS cluster, which is in this case is e-shopping cluster, connected with your local Kubernetes lens, and that is what on the left hand side, on the left blade, basically you are seeing different options, and each and every option mostly it's discussed and applied into that particular course. That's why I put together into this readme file, just to put an extra emphasis on that. Likewise, we have this Istio thing. So Istio is nothing but one of the service mesh pattern which you will be applying to enable the sidecar pattern basically, and that's what it is giving a glimpse of. Like, so Istio proxy running ready, and in that particular course, let's say in the catalog, there are multiple containers which is running basically inside the same pod, and one being the service, another being the sidecar, and it is getting injected if there is any issue is there. So that is why sidecar pattern is known for. And to visualize that, they provide this Kiali service management for Istio, of course. And you see, by looking at this picture itself, one can understand the gist of that entire architecture. Like, let's say how this flow is traveling, how this flow is happening, which microservices is calling the other microservices, and how it is connected. So that gives a nice visualization of that, and the live traffic as well. You can see here, you can optimize this and you can utilize many of its settings, and you can further visualize this. Likewise, this is Kiali catalog workload, which you can see into different from the different left side options, and likewise different services which you can see. And this is the Grafana dashboard visualization for that. And with this is it. Like, so this is the thing which I wanted to discuss here. And if you guys like this, so let me know. In case, even if you don't like, I believe like at least you guys can try this piece, like your e-shopping, which is already hosted on Rahul Sai 19 profile itself. So you can just go to github.com/Rahul Sai 19 and e-shopping, clone this, fork this, send me any suggestions which you have, what you feel. And if you guys like, so probably you can just like this, give me a like or give me a star on this particular GitHub. And this is ultimately free, there is no cost involved in that. Even the first course is entirely free. You can get the entire gist of that, like what this course is all about and what you are going to learn right in that particular thing. So I hope you would like this complete reference of microservices journey. Thanks for joining me. Happy coding.